Hello everyone, I'm continuing with my E3 quick takes today and I'm doing a summary of both the Square and Capcom's presentations. Now if you haven't already, check out my overviews of the other E3 presentations that I have done for Ubisoft, Microsoft and the PC Gaming Show, and tomorrow I will most likely do a Nintendo summary as well. Now if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel to get all my gaming videos, and we have a Discord server now, so come along and join us there and I'll leave a link in the description below. Thankfully both Square and Capcom decided to keep their presentations concise, which I was very grateful for, given there's a lot of gaming news this week and I'm trying to get these videos out as quick as I can. As the title says, I thought the Square presentation was great and hit all the right notes. They showed a lot of impressive games, and I think there was something there for most Square fans, except maybe the most demanding ones. Capcom, on the other hand, they showed up just 2 games, and I don't think there was much there for the majority of the fan base. So I won't be doing a top 10 countdown unlike my Microsoft or PC Gaming Show videos, because there just simply aren't enough announcements here, but I'll go over the highlights of the 2 shows. I want to start with Capcom first because there wasn't much here. Capcom had a 25-minute presentation, but really they just made 2 announcements. The first one was for a game that we knew was coming already, Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin. It always seemed to me that the Stories games looked to capture a much younger audience, and that still seems to be the case here. I was actually surprised that it's coming out so soon, given Monster Hunter Rise just came out a couple of months ago, but if they're going for a different audience, I suppose it won't eat into their mainstream Monster Hunter audience. Capcom mostly showed off story sequences, so it was pretty uninteresting, but it's not long to go now until the final game comes out. The second game they showed was Ace Attorney Chronicles. Now this is actually a compilation of 2 Ace Attorney games that were released earlier in Japan. The first one was released in 2015 and the second in 2017, and both were on 3DS, but they had never made its way over to the West. So I think this is pretty good value, and the games look like they've been remade for the current generation of consoles and PC. The games are set in the early 1900s in London, complete with an imitation Sherlock Holmes, now called Sherlock Sholmes. The main character is apparently an ancestor of Phoenix Wright. Not a whole lot to say here, but what they did show got me interested in playing a Phoenix Wright game again, despite me almost tearing my hair out the last time I played because I couldn't get past a certain section of the game. Overall, there was nothing bad about the 2 game reveals from Capcom, but somehow I don't think it was really enough, given their fan base mostly consists of Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Devil May Cry and mainstream Monster Hunter fans. Okay, let's move on to Square, and Square dedicated almost 20 minutes to showing off Guardians of the Galaxy, and it deserved every minute. The game is developed by Eidos Montreal, who've made games such as Deus Ex Human Revolution and Deus Ex Mankind Divided, as well as Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This was a world premiere of the game, and it already looks stunning. What they showed here, you wouldn't be able to tell if it was a cross-gen game, and that it was also available on PS4. The character models are incredibly high quality, and there are some shots of Rocket that I think surpass the level of detail of Ratchet in Ratchet & Clank. Guardians of the Galaxy looks like it takes inspiration from a range of games. There are dialogue choice, story elements like Mass Effect, and the battles look like a mix of Devil May Cry, Monster Hunter, and Final Fantasy gameplay. There are some moments where the frame rate drops in battles, so it's not 100% ready, but I hope that means they're being honest with where they're at with the game. Despite being a team of Guardians, the game is a single-player story-driven game where you play as Star-Lord. It already looks really good, and it might even be the best looking game of E3 so far. Next, Square had some smaller announcements which I'm just going to list out. Final Fantasy Collection for Steam and Mobile, Legend of Mana, Marvel's Avengers War for Wakanda expansion, Hitman Sniper, Nier Reincarnation, War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius Cross Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier. So most of these announcements were about 30 seconds long, so they were more like reminders rather than announcements. Square then moved on to some new games, the first one developed by Platinum Games, maker of games like Bayonetta, Vanquish, and Nier. This new game is called Babylon's Fall, and it definitely looks like it's in the wheelhouse of Platinum Games. But what's impressive about this game is that despite this being another high fantasy take, the art style looks different enough to make this game stand out. It has a lighter, almost pastel color palette, which contrasts against the often gritty nature of a dark gothic game. I think if Dark Souls games are too difficult or frustrating for you, and you wanted a high fantasy combat game, I think Babylon's Fall could be the game for you. Platinum Games' combat systems focus on being flashy and fun without them being difficult, though there are certainly skills to master. Notably, this game will be coming out on PS5, PS4 and Steam to begin with. Next, we saw some more from the Life is Strange series, with the next game in line being Life is Strange True Colors. The developers showed off how dialogue choices worked in this game, and for me, I'm really glad there are games like Life is Strange. It's games like this that really stand out against the vast majority of video games that are either science fiction or historical fantasy, so to get something like this with a current day setting is a breath of fresh air. Life is Strange developers also announced a remastered edition of the first two games that are free with the Ultimate Edition of Life is Strange True Colors. The remastered edition is certainly better, but the existing game still looks great given the stylized graphical design. Life is Strange True Colors will be released September 11th. Finally, Square Enix had one more surprise, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. The most surprising thing about this game is that Team Ninja, the developers of Nioh and Ninja Gaiden, are involved. It'll be interesting to see how the combat stacks up against Platinum's Babylon's Fall. I'm a huge fan of Nioh and found that to have the best combat I played in a video game, so this is a game I'll keep an eye on. I don't really find all the Final Fantasy themed games overly exciting, mostly because we're just saturated with Final Fantasy games these days. I have to say the main character looks to be the most uninspired character design I've seen at E3 so far. It's not so much that it's a white guy with blonde hair, though that might be part of it, but almost everything about his design screams generic. Even the top he's wearing is just a t-shirt versus the more elaborate designs his sidekicks wear. This is probably intentional, so we'll just have to see how this all plays out. Overall, for Square Enix, I thought this was a great showing. There's no Final Fantasy 16 or 7 Remake, but I like that they went for something new, and games they showed looked really polished, both graphically and from a gameplay perspective. I think after Final Fantasy 13, Square Enix kinda lost their way from a company direction viewpoint, but with the announcements in this presentation, I think it's clear they're harnessing their strengths of building interesting worlds with great gameplay and amazing art and attention to detail. Okay, that's it for this one. If you like this video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and I'll be back tomorrow with the Nintendo summary, so I will see you guys then.